Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Skill Riders podcast episode. This is episode number 246. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing good. Apologies for last week. I did not get to record an episode. I was a little bit under the weather. The voice was gone, but now that a week has gone by, I feel a lot better. And I've been excited about recording this new episode because few things have happened, and one of the things we could just get right into it is some exciting news regarding the long-awaited, the long-lost Scale Lowriding Volume 1 VHS featuring Garcia and David Weise. Man, this is crazy. So let's get right into it. So, I remember some years back, having a conversation with one of my friends, and he used to scale model build back in the day growing up, like many of you guys listening to this podcast. And one of the things that, he grew up watching was a VHS tape that was called Scale Lowriding, and it was Volume 1. And this was produced by a company called Redline Communications, based out in the Valley here in Southern California. So this was a company that produced this tape featuring Garcia, David Weise. I don't know too much regarding the company. I don't know too much about how this all came to be. The only, you do see some little bit of bits and details in the credits at the end of some of the people involved in this. And this is something that was released back in the 90s, like 94, 95. Myself, I never got to see this tape. I was unaware of it because I didn't, when I was getting lowrider bicycle magazines and building models, I was, junior high, like elementary going into junior high, and then getting into high school I stopped. But during that time, whatever issues I came across, that was like as much as I could see. But ads, when you flip through the magazine, there would be ads in there. The Big Kid Enterprises was one of the ads that stood out to me, but this Redline one was not one that did, because I've reviewed some of the early issues that I've collected over the years, and in my videos I've pointed out these ads, especially that one there, and there's no lowrider, there's nothing on the ad. It just looks like a regular plain ad, just nothing but text, right? So as a kid, that never stood out to me. I was more looking at the Big Kid Enterprises. It had like a 63 Impala. It looked like it was doing like a 3-wheel motion. Like that stood out to me, like, hobby store, a mail order, something that I couldn't even imagine myself telling my parents, hey, I want to buy this stuff, get me the catalog, or like mail them a check, like that. I don't know, that just wasn't going to happen. So, for other friends that had access to this tape, and I've heard many stories regarding this tape. It's like the infamous tape, that a lot of people remember, and I was amazed how people remember it, but no one has the actual tape. And I've had guests on this podcast, old episodes, the early on episodes, where this was something that was brought up, through conversations with Jeffries. This was something that I mentioned to him. Do you have this tape? Have you seen it? And I mean, obviously, yes, he has seen it. That's one of the things that inspired him to scale model build and also do hoppers and all that. And the rest is history to where he's at now, and one of the persons responsible for that is Garcia, that was on this tape. He was one of the guys featured in this tape, and for Jeffries being all the way in Netherlands, in Europe, he managed to get his hands on this tape and watch this. So as time went on, one of my homies that I took a class with in Northern California, his name's Javier. So with Javi, I've had him on the show too. And, when I took this class, everyone who was there to learn how to paint and all that, right? So then there was like a point where, you had to introduce yourself and kind of state what's your reason for being here. Why are you in this class? And maybe also like give a little bit inside of what you do, maybe not like a profession as far as like, like, oh, I work at the bank, I'm a banker or whatever, like nothing like that. It was more like kind of like what are you into, So everyone had some type of artistic background, right? People painting cars, pinstripers, customizers, you name it, right? Everyone at different levels. And when I took this class, I was there with Luis Americano, and we both mentioned that we were scale model builders and that we wanted to pretty much learn and enhance our like painting skills. So Javier heard that, and that caught his attention because he used to build models when he was a kid. So he was kind of surprised and kind of shocked and thrown off at the same time, like, what the hell, these guys are still building models? So we end up on a break talking, saying what's up, and then he starts asking us about it, and then he starts asking us like, hey, do you guys know Armando Flores, or is he still building? And we're like, yeah, dude, like that's our friend. And he was tripping out, and he had no idea all this was still going on, because for him, from what he's told me, it was like he was building models as a kid growing up, and that was like the precursor for him getting into airbrushing and getting into art and just painting and getting into custom paint, portraits, all that good stuff. So he was like, what the heck? So then we connected, on Instagram back then. And one of the things that he brought up to my attention was also the Bear Garcia tape. He asked me if I had that tape, or if I had seen it, or if I knew anybody who might have this. And my answer was no. I don't. So he kept bringing it up. He kept saying, man, we got to find this tape. You got to ask everybody, He was like, I'm sure somebody has it, dude. Someone must have it, like someone that moved out. It's probably at their parents' house, maybe at a grandparent's pad. It's probably in a closet somewhere with a bunch of family VHS tapes, or in the attic. It has to be somewhere. This tape has to exist, And so like the more he would ask me about it, like bringing it up, the more I was like, he was getting me hyped and pumped. Like, you know what? That's a challenge right there. Like damn, you're right. This has to be. It has to exist. So, throughout podcast episodes, I would just, randomly bring up the question to guests. Not all the time, but every so often I'd bring it up just to see, because a lot of these guys that I had on the podcast, they had already been featured. They've done articles. They did things in the Lowrider Bicycle magazine. So my thing was like, if anything, they probably would know. When we did our 100th episode, that was a milestone episode, and it was a special one because we had Nathan Trujillo on the podcast, and that was like his first ever podcast, first time we've ever had him on, and that he's probably ever done, and he's one of the persons responsible for that magazine. And he spoke about his roles and stuff like that, and also just some of the things that went down. And it had been so long, he had already stepped out and everything from the company and moved on with his professional career. So, whatever he could remember, he was chiming in and filling in some of those questions from back in the day, you know, and in this video, he's also credited in there. So I wonder if for Nathan, if he had, you know, something to do with the tape of bringing the people together, or bringing at least the artist into this, because I mean, he knew the artists that were featured in this tape. And if you think back, like, just think about that right now as you listen to this, like 1994, you know, I wonder if this was probably recorded in 93 but released in 94, because sometimes it takes time to record, you know, edit the video and do all that stuff, get it, you know, produced and get it created, put on VHS and everything, you know, the turnaround time and all that. So I kind of wonder if that went down in like 93 and going forward. But, you know, at that time there wasn't really much as far as information goes to how to do these builds. You know, from a lot of the guests I've had on the podcast, they've talked about how it was a fun / competitive phase in the events, at the scale model events back in the day. You know, it was about busting out, keeping things secret, and that was like that competitive edge, you know. That's what kept all these guys on their toes and just being very creative. As much as some people probably viewed it as like maybe like a rivalry, but it was more like I would say more like a friendship or friendly rivalry, you know. And for them, you know, it was, I bet you anything, you know, they're probably like, man, like that build right there is what inspired me to do this, or to push me to that next level, to want to win the next event, you know. And there just wasn't too much info that was out compared to now. It can't be compared at all. That was like a whole different era right there. There's a lot of pioneers, a lot of innovators, and just working with what you got, you know. And you know, you got to give credit to a lot of these people from back in the day, you know. And Bear Garcia, he happens to be one of those artists from back in the day that was a pioneer, ahead of its time, for being so young and, you know, creating these hoppers, bed dancers, just bringing in some you know, function into the builds where they can move, as opposed to just being a static kind of build, and busting out with that and just inspiring a ton of people. I mean, that was huge, you know, because for lowriders, you know, you see them cruising, or they're posted up, you know, or they're hopping. And for a youth, like a kid, to have the ability to learn how to make a hopper and to actually execute it, you know, like you for sure, I could imagine you're like feeling like a king, like you're on top of the world. So for many, I mean, that were able to access this tape back in the day, that was like gold right there, having that, you know, and just being able to like watch this over and over and be very interested. I'm sure there's people rewinding it, rewatching it hundreds of times, you know, and going out, getting the tools and getting all the parts, everything that the video was recommending. And aside from hopping, I mean, there's also like some segments where it's teaching you, you know, about detailing the model and all that right there. Pretty much what these guys know, they're sharing it right there. They're laying it all out. So, you know, I've asked so many people, even Armando, I was like, yo, do you have this tape? Have you seen it? You know, do you know anybody who might have it? You know, Chevy Man, same thing. Juan Amezcua, you know, he's a collector. He's man, I wonder at some point, like you know, collecting a lot of various things from so many years. If at some point you become like a historian, you know, but he does know a lot of history on stuff too. And I was like, man, you know, just asking everybody, who has this tape? Nothing, no luck. It was always just leading into, you know, a dead end or just everything cold. So as time went on, you know, my friend he would bring it up, you know, years would go by and I'd be like, man, I don't know who might have it. And then I thought, you know what? The one person I have not asked, and this person, you know, a lot of people know him. He's been around the game for a long time. Some iconic builds. And I was like, I gotta ask him. Why haven't I asked him? So I went ahead and got in contact with Gary Seeds. And I asked Gary, I'm like, hey Gary, do you by any chance might have this tape or know anybody who I might have it? I'm trying to get my hands on this tape because I want to see it, and I also want to share this with my friend because he's been asking for this tape for a long time. And he was like, man, he's like, I don't have it, but let me ask someone. I think I might know someone that might have it, you know. And like time passed, and then out of nowhere, you know, Gary, I get a call from Gary, and I didn't answer my phone because I didn't have it with me until later. I looked, I was like, oh, I got a missed call. Let me call him back. So then I call him back and we start talking, and then he tells me, hey, I have some good news. I'm like, what's up? He's like, I got a copy. He's like, I know somebody that does have it, and I got you a copy. I'm like, what? No way. I couldn't believe it. He's like, yeah, I got you a copy. He's like, I'll mail it to you. So he mails me like a DVD copy. You know, it must have been obviously from VHS digitized and burned into DVD. So I was like, cool, dude, I could not believe it, you know. And then finally it showed up at my house, and I'm like, what? No way. So then I had I have a little DVD player that I connected to my laptop. Start throwing it on and I start watching it, and I was just like, whoa, like this is a time machine right now. I'm going back in time, you know, to that era. It's like the music, just the way it looks, you know, the colors, everything. I was like, man, yeah, this is 90s right here. That's crazy. Start watching it. You know, you look at these guys, they're so young right here, right? And then I just was like, man, I can't wait to tell my friend Javier. But I was like, hold on. How can I tell him? You know, I gotta like, he's not gonna believe me. You know, I gotta surprise him, but he's not gonna believe me. So I tell him, like, we're just talking, right? And I'm like, dude, you're not gonna guess what I have in my possession right now. He's like, what? I was like, I have the video. He's like, what video? The video, the one you've been asking me about all this time. And then he's like, what? Nah, you're lying. I'm like, yeah, dude. He couldn't believe me. I'm like, nah, dude, I have it. So I text him a photo of the DVD, how it was in the little jewel case. I'm like, check it out. And he's like, what? So then I just told him the story, and he's like, man, he's like, I want to see it. I'm like, I know. And then I was like, well, let me figure this out. Let me see how, cause then I was like, man, like, I kind of want to, like, I want a lot of people to see this. Like, you know, I want to share this so a lot of people get to see it, because this is going to take them back. And, you know, one of the things that was crazy is during the course of the podcast episodes, I interviewed Bear Garcia, and in that episode, you know, I asked him, do you have the tape? And he was like, nah. He's like, I don't even have it. He's like, I used to have copies of it and so forth. And he was, I think he even said that he's like, I think my sister sold probably the last copy or something at a yard sale, like back then. And it's just like, he's just like, I don't have any copies, like nothing, you know? And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. Like, you're in the video and you don't even have nothing, you know? And, you know, sometimes that happens. Sometimes, you know, we participate in projects or we're in things and, you know, we give them out to friends. In the beginning, we got a bunch of them, like a stockpile. But over time, you start giving them away. And then next thing you know, you're selling them and then you lose some and then that's it. They're all gone. And you're like, dude, I didn't even keep one for myself, you know? But, you know, when it was like that, I was like, man, I knew that this was something special, you know? I knew, like, man. And, you know, just from conducting a lot of the episodes, you know, interviewing a lot of people that were featured in the Lowrider Bicycle magazine, like, where are they now, kind of thing. You know, that was a huge inspiration and backbone and motivation to the podcast when it started early on, you know. It was one of those things where it was like a challenge and also an exploration as to, like, where are they now, you know. And if you go back into a lot of those, like those first early on episodes, like before even the 100th episode, there's a lot of artists that got interviewed, you know, in there that just, they give their side of the story on things, their point of views, and all their experiences and stories, and it's just so cool, you know. And I remember even with Garcia, I didn't know I was going to be able to get this interview from him because he doesn't live in the U.S. He's in Dubai, you know. And I was like, man, how's this going to happen, right? But then we managed to get connected. And it's not a long episode. It's somewhat of a short episode. But, you know, we managed to do it. And it was cool. It was pretty fun, you know, getting to finally hear his voice and, like, meet him and be able to, like, chat with him for the first time ever right there. And, you know, as time went on, you know, now having this copy in my possession, I was like, all right, I'm gonna put it out, but not right now. I'm gonna wait. So then when I told my friend, dude, I'm gonna put it out later, not right now. I'm gonna wait. He couldn't believe it. He's like, what, for real? He's like, all right. And it's like, man, Javi's cool because he never like, you know, like, he would ask me about it, but then he wouldn't bring it up, you know. And I remember, like, time went on, like months would go on, right? And then just randomly he would, like, text me, hey man, I need to watch this tape before I die. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, I feel like I'm never gonna watch this ever again. I'm like, all right, don't trip. So time would pass. And, you know, me and him, we talk pretty frequently and we talk about other stuff and whatever. And then time passed. Next, you know, I realized, holy crap, a year went by already and I haven't even put it out. I've been sitting on this for a year now, but I didn't tell anybody. Like, I didn't really tell anybody but him, you know, like nobody knew. And I never mentioned anything. And, you know, I was just like waiting for the right time, I guess, when it felt right to do it, you know. And then finally I was like, you know what, man, I need to somehow convert this, like, to digital format so I can put it online, because we got to start sharing this now. Now's the time, you know. So then I contacted my other friend, Rudy, and he helped me out, managed to get it into a USB a flash stick, and we got it on there. Finally digitized and everything. And from there I was like, all right, cool, like this is ready to go online. So I clipped a little clip, the intro, from the video, and I said, all right, I'm gonna put this clip up, see what happens, you know. So before I put it up, I went on Bear Garcia's Instagram, because he's on Instagram. But man, he hadn't been on Instagram, or he hasn't posted anything in like a couple years. Like 2023 was like one of his last posts. So I was like, man, I don't know if he's still active, because he did mention that Facebook is like banned in Dubai. And since like Facebook and Instagram, they're like own pretty much Meta and all, that's like the same company. I was like, maybe Instagram got banned also. So I'm just gonna post this. I'm gonna tag him, and I'm gonna tag a list of people that were, you know, that I asked about this video, and who saw it back in the day, and, you know, just to kind of like take them back. So I went ahead and I posted the video, and man, it like made some traction right away. It started getting a bunch of views, and then out of nowhere, Barry Garcia commented, and he started sending me DMs, and I was like, oh damn, he's here, he's active, dope. Jeffries also, and a bunch of people, right? And he was like, oh man, I'm about to cry. He's like, I don't even have this, you know. That's what he commented. That was one of his comments. And then even his son jumped in the comments. He was like, that's my dad, like that's dope, you know. So we start chatting on DMs and stuff, and he's just telling me like, dude, like just watching that, it's like making me cry. And I'm like, dang. And you know, because it's taking him back, and it was just one of those things that I was like, yeah, like I managed to get I was pretty much bringing him up to speed, you know, just letting him know like, hey, I managed to get a copy of this finally. So, and I told him, give me your email and I'll send you the file, so this way you have it, you know, for yourself. And so I got that already, sent that over to him. You know, I mentioned to him, hey, I'm gonna be putting this up on YouTube like later, like this month. I'm just not sure yet when, but this will be going up soon. So I was like, all right, cool. Talked to Jeffries too, you know, caught up with him and mentioned to him too, hey man. And he's like, dude, like Bear's excited, I'm excited, you know, we want to see this. And you know, there's a bunch of other people who are like, you know, like even Joel's like, Alterworks, like, yo, this is dope, like where'd you get this, you know? And it's kind of cool, because you know, it's just like these are the guys that grew up, you know, watching this at some point in their life, you know. They're still connected to this community, to scale model building and the scene, and no matter, you know, what route or what they do in their future, you know, life, they're still connected. Like this is still part of their youth, you know, their past history. So it's kind of cool to see them interact and show love, comment, and just kind of, you know, express some of the things that they're feeling as they're watching this. So I think it's almost close to like 8,000 views on the reel right now on Instagram. So if you have not seen this and you're listening, just go on our Instagram and look up Scale Riders, and you'll be able to see a video. So right before I started recording this right now, I uploaded another clip where it shows Bear Garcia hopping a 1964 Impala by AMT. And it's pretty cool because the car's like moving very accurately, almost like a real car. It's pretty dope. And you know, my as I'm recording this right now, let me see here. The date is Monday, the 17th, 2025. So originally, I was planning like, oh man, maybe I'll release it at the end of the month, like March 30th. That happens to be my birthday that day. But then I was like, nah, that's kind of cheesy, you know. I'm gonna release it soon. I'm probably gonna do it for this Friday, the 21st. So, as you're listening to this right now, I'm gonna upload this as soon as I'm done. So most of you guys, it's gonna probably be Tuesday, the 18th. So once you listen to this in a few days, go to our YouTube channel and watch the video. There will be links too. I mean, on Instagram, you guys already know. I'm gonna be posting it on there as well, and I'll try to post it as many places as I can so people could see. And if this is something that you want to share, please share it with your friends. All the different platforms. Just so people could check it out, so it could take them back and see what's up with this. But man, it's pretty exciting having this, and finally, it's gonna drop after all this time. It's just, it's all about timing. As much as I could have been like, all right, cool, let me post it now or whatever. Back then, I think a lot of different things were going on back then that it just wasn't the right time. But now, I feel like right now it's cool. There's time. I could do it up. So, hopefully, pretty sure Bear's going to watch that file before the launch. But, I want to release these little snippets and tag him so people can see this stuff, get little teasers as to what's coming, what's going to be released, because, I want, for many scale model builders that are very unaware of this tape, who are, possibly from Europe, from Japan, and just different parts of the world that are, scale model builders, let's say from like, I don't know, the 2000s going forward, or even right now, with 2020 going forward. There's a lot of new people that joined the scene that are very unaware of this and just don't know about it. This is an introduction for them as well, but also, to look at the person on this. And with Bear Garcia, he does have a lot of history. He's been on TV shows. He's been a part of a lot of custom shops that were on TV, and he's just done so much in his career that has led him to Dubai, still working in the car industry, but out there. And he not only did he do cars, he also built lowrider bicycles, and he did like the first ever like lowrider bicycle with hydros in it. He's done a lot of different things. He's a pioneer. And on this tape, David Weise is on this, and I have not interviewed him. I've never met him. You guys are listening to this. If you guys know his whereabouts, what he's up to now and all that, please get me in contact with him. I think it'd be pretty cool to do an interview with him, because he is on this tape as well. And just to, get to talk to him and see what's up, from back in the day. It'd be pretty interesting to do something like that. But yeah, this Friday, this tape is gonna come out. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully, you guys that watch this will enjoy it. It'll take you back, and something to do over the weekend, and chill out. But aside from all that too, I wanted to move on to the next part of the podcast and just kind of bring you guys up to date what's kind of been going on my end of the spectrum with scale model building. So currently I've been working on the Fujimi kit. This is the Nissan, and obviously the previous videos that I put out was airbrushing, clear coating, and with the Laurel I finally got to the point where I ended up spraying the interior, started detailing the parts in the interior. Very, very minimal though, very, very basic, water slide decals and all that good stuff. One of the things that I wanted to point out that I ended up using as far as a coloring tool was the AK Interactive Real Colors, and those are the markers. Those markers, they've released them, and it's like a 3-pack. But in the marker, you get various different colors that are in there, right? So there's one that's geared towards like tools, weapons, also like tires and wheels. So there's different ones. So I managed to use some of the ones that had like wood colors, like a light brown, dark brown, but like more like wood type of colors. And I started, because the interior went with like a brown. Sorry. And then I also went with brown panel line in there. Did some little touch-ups. So then I started using these markers, and they're acrylic. So you start coloring it, and man, you get some nice coverage with these. And I was like, yo, these are dope. So I started detailing the interior, all the small little parts. Instead of using a brush, I was using this. And let's say if I would mess up a little, I could still clean it up with another color, another brown, or a black. So things like that, it was just like very user friendly, and I really enjoyed that. So I was like, all right, cool. The interior tub is done. The bottom chassis is pretty much done. The exterior, all I gotta do is polish the model, and then just start adding the mirror finish to it and assemble it, and that model is pretty much done. It's just the stock model. So that's going to be one that will be done soon. And then I started working on my Corvair as well. Started kind of tweaking that out right there. I'm not going to be posting on that until May, until it's done. As of right now, I'm just doing a lot of body work to it, like cleaning stuff up. It's going to be getting into the primer stages, and then more cleanups and more sanding, and back again to primer stages before I feel like, okay, it's finalized. Let's move on to the paint. As far as interior goes, I'm still kind of, depending what the exterior flow is what's going to dictate the interior, how it's going to be, if it's going to be a custom type of vibe or more of a stock kind of vibe, and then I got to get that ready as well. So then from there, when I get ready for paint, I could pretty much do all that all together, so it's nice and uniformed and it matches. So that's another fun project. So I'm going to be between both right now, working on that right there. So the AK Interactive, those markers, those are the ones that stood out to me a lot. That I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to like start trying to bring in even more of sets. Like I on the website, like I have a nice selection of sets, but I think there's more that I might be missing that I'm gonna bring in. But I highly recommend them. I'm pretty sure once you try them, you'll know what I'm talking about. But especially for like the steering wheel and the centers, like things like that, it definitely came through. And it dries fast too. It being acrylic, it dries really, really fast, right there, because I just let it dry for some minutes, and then I was already handling it. I could already touch it. Man, I don't know. I'm sorry guys. I'm like walking into the other room. You guys could probably hear that cricket in the background. Let me step away over here. I just noticed them right now. And then, yeah, it was over the weekend. Was busy with the family, and we happened to attend a birthday party in the city of Montclair. And with my family, we pull up to the party, and I'm like over here going, wait a minute, I've been here before in this area. This looks very familiar. So then I'm like, you know what? I think Pegasus is like here, like around here. So then I go on my maps and I type in Pegasus, I do the search, and next thing you know, it's like down the street from the party. It's like on the same street, and I'm like, no way. It was like a 5-minute drive, right? So I'm like, what? And then I remembered that Sunday, which was, pretty much yesterday on Sunday, I was like, yo, I know Armando mentioned he was going to go to Pegasus too. He was going to be there with some of the guys because they were going to be hanging out, and they were going to end up there. So I was like, what? I'm going to hit them up. Let me see if they're there or what's going on. So he's like, yeah, we're on our way. Like, I'll be there at this time. I'm like, what? No way. I was like, trip out. I'm down the street from there. And he's like, what? So I'm like, yeah, I'll come through. So I'm like, just let me know when you're there, and I'll drive down there. So then he ends up hitting me up. We're here. So I stepped away, snuck out for a little bit from the party, and then boom, I get there, and I'm like, what? Just tripping out, because it wasn't, the new location. I haven't been there before. I've been to the older one they were at previously before they moved. So I was able to see the new location, and I was just tripping out how big it is. The store is humongous. It's so big. So then, meet up with the guys, talking and just, taking a look at everything. And I was like, dang, this place is huge. This is a huge place, So then, we're checking out the models and everything, and they're looking at the wheels. There's some specific wheels they need for some builds, and I was just like, man, this is cool. We're just chilling, But then at some point I had to take off because, my daughter's over here all looking for me and stuff. And I was like, yo, I gotta jam, guys. It was fun, And yeah, it took me back, because I was like, man, these little hangouts, little get-togethers, they're super cool. They're much needed. And it had been a long time. I haven't seen some of the guys in a long, long time. I mean, for the most part, we communicate, we posts and whatnot, but we haven't, I haven't at least hung out, come out to anything, so it's been a while. So it was super cool, super nice. And it was Jarvis Malone, Armando Flores, David DeVaca, also Chevy Man, Juana Mesqua was there. So it was cool just to see everybody right there chilling. And then I took off. Armando told me Hector Lozano showed up too after I took off. So shout outs to him too. He made the trip. I don't know how far he is, but I was just tripping out. We were all there from different places. It's San Diego, Long Beach, Ventura County, the Valley, and then I was coming from LA County. So it's just a lot of everyone was coming from different angles right there. So that was pretty dope. But yeah, that was fun. And aside from all that, I'm looking forward to Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this tape. We got some new arrivals too on our website, scaleriders.com, that came in earlier in the week. But tomorrow, Tuesday, I will be posting and updating the site with some new things that arrived as well. Some more things. So that's going to be fun right there. Hopefully that's something you might be looking for. Keep me posted if there's anything you guys are looking for specifically. I might be able to get it, So I'm going to wrap this one up right here. I hope, you guys having a good one. Keep on building. Stay safe. And catch you guys next week. All right. Peace out.